Good morning, everyone. Good to see you this morning. My name is Joshua. The West Coast, I live just shy of Seattle, and I work with my friends in Olympia, all up and down the Pacific Coast, to talk about our coffee and to get people excited and interested in it. Last week, if you would have seen me having a conversation with Bob Bank, our green bean buyer, and he is cupping in the lab several new African coffees, specifically some natural coffees, as well as some washed coffees. And as a part of that conversation, I decided, you know what we should do is revisit one of our favorites that we have in our catalog, and which we are always trying to make sure we have a supply of, because there are some very loyal people out there. And that is our naturally processed Ethiopia Harar. So that is what we're going to do today. We're just going to do a quick conversation about it, and we're going to take a look at its flavor notes, and we're going to also take a look at a little bit more information about where it comes from. So the first thing, what we talk about when we talk about our Harar. So our flavor notes for this coffee are strawberry, sage, and lavender. So florals, some herbaceous qualities, as well as everything from my own garden. It's true, the sage and the lavender, and then the strawberry as well. So I'm proud of that. I'm not going to lie. I have to say that it makes me pretty happy that I was able to do that. Okay, but enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about this coffee here. So, and then we're going to do a demo of the brewing. So what are the things we want to talk about with this coffee? We want to talk about where to find it on our website, obviously. Foremost, you go to Single Origin Coffee. It actually has this lovely symbol, which is reminiscent of the logo that we have, right? It's a coffee blossom from the flower of the coffee tree. So that is the symbol for the Harar on our website. And then, as always, I recommend you go and look at our coffee report for this Ethiopia Harar. Note, natural process. The cherry is dealt with after it's been harvested, after it's been picked, right? Now, you know that what we roast is not the fruit, of course. We are roasting the seed of the cherry. And so that is what we need to get down to. We have to get to that fruit, remove that. There are a couple ways to do that. You've seen Bob talk about them along with some of our producing partners. And what we are doing is, in this case, instead of taking the auger type devices which pulp the seed out and leave us with the seed covered mucilage off through different methods, then drying it in the sun, we're taking the fruit and simply laying it out in the sun. Really simple. Now, that doesn't mean they might not Bob referenced this last week, they might not wash the fruit first, clean the fruit with some water before laying it in the sun. And so when we say they're using a lot of water and turbulence as well as depulping to remove the fruit and the mucilage, this is just meaning the fruit is washed before it is then laid out, just as it's been picked, out into the sun on raised beds and then managed very carefully. So when you look at our coffee report for this, you'll see that we call out that because of the inherent challenges with naturally processing the coffee, right? We have fruit out in the sun. We will often cup our natural coffee or two times as many times, as a lot of room for mistakes to occur or for less than optimal things to happen as the coffee has been processed. Coffee at our end, and making sure that what we're tasting is what we want to have in the cup for you when you buy the coffee from us. And this Harar is no different. So when we talk about this Harar, you look on the coffee report and it mentions the growing conditions. It talks about the kind of the cultural attachment to coffee that we experience in Ethiopia relatively uniquely. It can be harvested in the wild almost, because it is of coffee, and then land races as well as just coffee growing, and it's harvested often communally. small plot holders harvesting that coffee. That then means that the sorting process that comes next is very important when the coffee is gathered together to go to a place where it can be dried and processed. And that's where the coffee all the way down to the ground level to watch it and make sure that the quality is there and is consistent in what's coming over for us to sample. Taking a look again, please do visit that coffee report. You can read a little bit about this coffee in particular. We do want to take a look really quickly at Ethiopia and Harar region right about here. And I'm going to just zoom in so we can take a look at it. So we see the Harar right there. But if we want to take even a closer look, this is a map of coffee growing regions, and you'll see these two spots here. You see so much of the coffee really right here, the Rift Valley coming down through here, located in this region. And up here, relatively unique to that, we have the Harar region, closer to the more eastern side. So there's Harari, right, up close and personal. So we want to spend some time with this coffee now, brewing it, so we can actually taste those things that we're talking about, right? So we're going to be using a V60 today. And this is in this case a ceramic, and the V60, a little bit of a lag there in my down cam, so you'll excuse that. I'm going to go ahead and put my paper filter in, place it on top of my vessel. I don't need to weigh anything yet because I'm actually going to do the first thing we should always be doing when we're using paper filtration, which is doing a little rinse, right? Getting that paper filter nice and wet so that we can remove any of the paper qualities from it, and oops, other way, other way. Oh, I should put the backwards. Okay, so we can remove any of the paper qualities from it. Also, pre-wet the filter so it's ready for it to be saturated and for us not to lose anything in that filter as it becomes saturated. It's already pre-saturated, so the elements we want can pass right through it and not get trapped in it. And then it also, of course, just something simple in that it pre-warms both the vessel your coffee is going into and also the brewer itself, right? Take care of our water. Now, what I'm going to do today is we're going to go through again. I've kind of been talking a lot about weights and measures. So we're going to go through the calculations that tell us how much water to use for the amount of coffee we're using here. So I have some pre-ground coffee. I've tared out my scale. I'm going to see how much I have here. Looks like 23 grams. A little bit more than I expected, but that is okay. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna pull up our calculator and we'll go to our calculator really quick together. So we know that we're using I'm gonna use a 1:17 ratio. So that means for every gram of coffee, 7 grams of water. So we have 391 grams of water. That's what I'm going to shoot for with this brewing method, okay? So I have my coffee in here. I've pre-wetted the filter. I've warmed it as well. My water is at temperature. All right. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to bloom the coffee. I'm going to tare. Now remember, it says 22 now. Okay, fine. I have 22 grams. I'm going to tare out, and remember that 22 number, because in getting to 391, I'm going to start by blooming the coffee with just double the amount. Water that is equal to double the amount of coffee. So I have 22 grams of coffee. I'm going to add 44 grams of water to start. In the center. Okay, there I have, boop, boop. Great thing about gooseneck kettle is you're able to have, so there's my 44, and I've started my timer as well to wait about 30 seconds as it blooms. Now, I'll see that I'm not sitting over it, I'm not able to see a little more water just to wet these grounds over here. Another great aspect of the gooseneck is you're able to kind of pinpoint where you send your water. So we have just about 30 seconds, and now remember I'm going to go all the way up to 391, but I'm going to do it in a couple of passes, kind of slowly down. I'm going to get take about 30 seconds to get halfway there. 300. All right. Kind of pulsing the coffee in, right? Taking just little steps to preferred volume. Remember, shooting for 391. I'm just pour down a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and we'll go around the edge. I don't mind hitting the sides a little bit. Don't want to pour directly under the filter. Coffee kind of roiling around and spinning back up. And look, I am trying to keep it relatively low. You see, I have a lot of room left in the V60. You could pour it all the way up, but I'm not doing that. I'm trying to keep it kind of low in its volume. That's just to kind of slow down the amount of time it's in contact. So I'm going real slow now as I get up to my target. We're in 350, 360, 70. $391. Okay. Now, you've probably seen us do this before. Once we have it all the way up, I'm just going to spin it. You see it kind of do a little swirl there. What that does is that it swirls along the top, it pulls down any of the grounds back into that slurry so that they're getting saturated with water. It doesn't leave them up on the sides of the V60 where they just hang out. They don't get saturated. Nothing gets extracted from them for the full amount of time. They have, of course, been part of the slurry possibly, and they've moved around up. Get everything to be part of the slurry so that we get an even time. I would like to have for this. Looks like I'm going to be a little bit over, although it's getting close to the end there. So what I'll do, knowing that, you can see it kind of finishing its extraction there. All right, and there we are. Okay. So, well, pretty close. 3 minutes and 36 seconds. Not so off. All right, we'll move this. Okay, here we have our coffee. Our Ethiopia Harar naturally processed coffee, and my main camera. Yeah, the floral quality for sure is there. It's lovely. So go to the website. Remember, if you use Watch and Learn 10, a little code that we have there, you get 10%. Grab some of this Harar. If you've never tried a natural processed coffee, you should try it because it really will be a different experience for you. It's a very different coffee than washed coffees that come from Latin America, even washed coffees that come from Africa, from the same region even. So it's a great experience. And it as Bob said, naturals can be a little polarizing in some ways because there are people who really love them, and then some people who maybe had a bad experience with them. Bob and to source the best coffees, and the coffee team doesn't take in anything that they feel will be compromised in any way. And so our naturals are always going to be outstanding, and I really do recommend you try them. I want to talk to you a little bit about the rest of this week. It's a little bit nutty for me. I'm going to be doing some events, which is what my job was before COVID. I did do a lot of events, as well as sales and marketing. Obviously, that all changed once we were, in kind of the lockdown period. Things have loosened up a little bit in some of the areas where we do business. And so we are very cautious once we were, in kind of the lockdown period. Things have loosened up a little bit in some of the areas where we do business. And so we are very cautious, attempting to be out in public in the right situations, right? So what that means this week is we're going to be at the Point Ruston Farmers Market. it's funny to think about doing events because we will be there. We will be selling coffee, both retail bags of coffee as well as cold drinks. But everything is different, right? We don't get to stand next to each other even. We are able to operate in an outdoor event setting in a way that allows us to practice social distancing as well as having our personal protective gear on. And so do the same way that we're used to at events where standing a few feet from each other. We will still be there and we will still get to see you and talk to you, right? So we're going to be at Point Right Out. We're going to work on being there pretty regularly through the rest of the summer, as long as we can do it in a way that is safe for our staff as well, that respects all the guidelines that are in place as far as how we are able to operate in a way that is consistent with safety being our number one concern. But we still want to share coffee with you. That's why we've been working to find these places to talk about our coffee, to share it with you remotely, and now at events. They may feel a little bit different when you visit us, but we'll be there. And then I'll also be at a golf tournament on Friday on behalf of St. Martin's University, one of our customers. I've done lots of golf tournaments. They're usually fun. Again, it'll be a little strange, picking drinks and then setting them over on a table where people can pick them up. Won't be quite as free in our conversation with folks, right? Because we have to maintain our distance. But we'll still be there, and we're finding ways to continue to be out serving our guests and our friends, also being of service to the organizations that we support. And so thank you for your patience as we've moved into these new phases pretty conservatively, frankly, and I think that's good. I think it's good for us to move very cautiously so that we can maintain what's best for everyone. So grateful to be here with you today to share this lovely Harar, which I now get to drink. It's cool now, so it's just about right. I hope you try it. I might not be until I get to Point Ruston, more at around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock time, and then you'll see a broadcast from us then. So Thursday's schedule will be a little bit different since I'll be there at the market. You'll see me later in the day, but we will definitely do a live from the market little broadcast to say hello, just like we did when Krista and I went out there to look at the space. We'll introduce you, if you haven't met Krista before, and to Crystal, who's going to be our store manager there, and welcome you all to visit us. And look forward as we transition from not just having our homes as cafes, but also having our cafes as cafes. All right? Thanks.